The kingdom is like a merchant in search, from the edge of the sea to the door of the church, looking for pearls that are fine and are rare. In the quiet reflection of the morning air, and finding one gem of a price so great, in the rhythmic timing of the master's fate. The pearl of great price in the early dawn, when the search of the spirit is finally gone. He sold all he owned for the sake of the one. In the radiant light of the morning sun, one perfect gem in the palm of the hand, the beauty of heaven across the land. Nothing compares to the light that it brings above the mountains and the crowns of the kings. The morning is peaceful and the vision is clear, turning the shadow into the gear. The pearl of great price, one perfect gem. Stay chill. It's yours. What man among you with 100 sheep, if one goes astray while the others sleep, doesn't he leave the 99 in the open field until the missing one is finally revealed? He searches through the thorns and the mountain cold to bring the wanderer back into the fold. Rejoice with me in the early light, for I found my sheep in the middle of sight. He lays it on his shoulders with a heart so glad, turning the sorrow into the spirit that he had. There is more joy in heaven over one who turns away at the very beginning of a brand new day. calls his friends and neighbors, come and see the prize. Under the reflection of the morning skies, the morning is radiant and the work is done in the victory of the Master's Son. The one in 100 rejoice with me. Stay chill, you're found. They came to trap him with a word and a plan, looking at the teacher and looking at the man. Is it lawful to pay the taxes to the state in the rhythmic timing of the Master's fate? He saw their malice and he asked for the gold, the greatest of the stories that the morning told. Render to Caesar what belongs to his name, in the middle of the world, in the middle of the flame. Whose image is this, and whose name do you see in the quiet reflection of the Spirit so free? But give unto God what is God's from the start, the image of the Spirit on the human heart. They marveled at his word, and they went on their way in the golden blue light of a brand new day. The morning is radiant, and the truth is so clear, casting away the shadow and the fear. The image on the coin, render to Caesar. Stay chill in the wisdom. 10,000 talents, a debt so vast and deep, a mountain of the sorrow that a man could never keep. He fell upon his knees. Have patience, Lord, with me. And the master moved with mercy, and he set the servant free. But he found a fellow servant who owed 100 pence, and he choked him in his anger without a heart's defense. 70 times 7 in the early morning light, learning how to measure the spirit and the sight. Should you not have mercy as I had it on you in the middle of the morning and the early dew? For the heart that is frozen in the shadow of the dead is the only kind of spirit that the master can't forget. He was delivered to the jailers until the debt was paid for the lack of the compassion that the Spirit had displayed. So my Father will do to every one of you unless you forgive your brother and start the life anew. 70 times 7, the debtor's silence, stay chill. In the forgiveness. As the king reached Bahorim on the dusty road, a man named Shimei came out with his load. He threw the stones and he cursed the king with every bitter word that the tongue could bring. Go away, you man of blood, he shouted loud, under the shadow of the heavy cloud. Stones and curses in the cooling air, a test of the spirit and a silent prayer. Let him curse, David said to his men, for the Lord has told him again and again. Maybe the Father will look on my pain and turn the cursing into the rain. He didn't strike back, he didn't use the sword, leaving the judgment to the only Lord. Walking in the dust with a heart so still, following the rhythm of the Master's will. Stones and curses, David's quiet grace. Stay chill in the insults. They returned to the city and they found only smoke under the weight of a heavy dark yoke. The wives and the children were taken away in the bitter chill of the cooling day. The people were weeping till they had no more strength, measuring the sorrow in the spirit's own length. Ashes of Ziklag and the bitter regret under a sun that was ready to set. But David found strength in the Lord on high, under the gaze of the empty sky. Pursue them, said the Master, you shall surely win, turning the sorrow to the fire within. He recovered it all in the middle of the fight, turning the darkness into the light. The heart of a leader that is forged in the dust, building the iron and building the trust. Ashes of Ziklag, strengthened in the Lord, stay chill in the recovery. In the halls of the palace, where the shadows are long, something was shifting in the heart of the song. And the prince was sick with desire, burning his soul in a forbidden fire. He trapped his own sister with a lie and a plan, the darkest of deeds for a royal man. The shattered peace and the cry in the night, as the honor of Tamar vanished from sight. She put ashes on her head and tore her royal robe, the loneliest soul on this spinning globe. Do not take this to heart, her brother Absalom said, while the seeds of a vengeance were starting to spread. King David was angry, but he did not speak. The power of the Father was silent and weak. A house divided by the sin and the pride, with a ghost in the hallway that had nowhere to hide. The shattered peace, Tamar's ashes, stay chill in the tragedy. He was ruddy and handsome, with beautiful eyes, a soul that was reflected in the morning skies. Arise and anoint him, the Lord said, lo, for this is the one that I've come to know. The oil flowed down in the silence of the room, washing away the shadow and the gloom. Chosen in the dust to wear a royal crown before the world and the people of the town, the Spirit of the Lord came mightily that day to guide the young shepherd on a different way. A secret of the heart, a promise for the years, through the golden laughter and the quiet tears. He went back to the sheep, but he wasn't the same, carrying the fire and the holy name. The future was waiting in the cooling air, leaving the timing in the Master's care. The anointing, chosen in the dust, stay chill in the calling. He fled to the desert, to the rocks and the dust, building the iron and building the trust. In the cave of Adullam, he hid from the light. In the middle of the shadows, in the chill of the night, those in distress and those in the dead gathered around him with a spirit of regret. Captain of the broken in the hum group of stone, leading a people that the world had disowned. 400 men with a soul so lean, the strangest army that the world has ever seen. From the palace of gold to the cave of the grave, waiting for the morning of a brand new day. He became their leader, and he became their friend. In the quiet of the mountain, where the spirits depend, strength in the weakness, and light in the dark, carrying the promise and the holy spark. Cave of Adullam, captain of the broken, stay chill in the sanctuary.
The king stayed at the gate while the army went out to the edge of the forest with a battle shout. Deal gently for my sake with the young man there, a father's plea in the morning air. But the woods were thick and the ground was deep, a secret of the battle that the forest would keep. The forest of Ephraim in the golden blue light, where the two kingdoms met in the fight. The trees took more than the edge of the blade. In the tangled shadow and the bitter shade, the rebellion was broken by the hands of the brave, walking the border of the spirit and the grave. torn in the heavy silence of the early morn. The fate of the crown and the heart of the sun in a battle of shadows that had only begun. The Forest of Ephraim, the clash of two kingdoms, stay chill in the struggle. Stay chill in the struggle. Deep in the rocks of the wild goat's land, with the dust of the desert and the shifting sand, Saul entered the cave in the middle of the day, not knowing the hunters were just steps away. David's men whispered, "The Lord gives him to you." But the heart of the shepherd was steady and true. The corner of the road in the palm of his hand, a silent witness across the dry land. I will not lift a finger against the chosen king. Under the shadow of the Father's wing, mercy in the cave, in the cooling of the light, turning the vengeance into the sight. He followed him out, and he cried to the king, "Look at this trophy that the shadows bring. I could have taken the life from your breast, leaving the judgment for the master to rest." The corner of the road, mercy in the cave, stay chill in the forgiveness. The kingdom is like a net in the sea, gathering every kind for the world to be. When it was full,
they drew it to shore to look at the harvest and the Spirit's store. They sat and they sorted the good from the bad in the middle of the morning, and the Spirit so glad gathered from the sea in the early light, sorting the Spirit in the middle of sight. The good in the baskets, the bad thrown away at the very end of the world's long day. So shall it be when the angels come down over every mountain and every single town. The morning is breaking and the truth is so clear, witnessing the wisdom and the holy fear. The net is now empty and the work is all done in the victory of the Master's Son. The dragnet gathered from the sea stayed chill in the sorting. The kingdom is like a householder who went out in the sun to hire some laborers until the day was done. At the third and the sixth and the ninth hour he came, and at the 11th hour he did the very same. Why are you standing idle? He asked them in the streets, go work in the vineyard, away from the heat. The 11th hour, in the golden blue glow, watching all the mercy of the Spirit flow. He paid them all a denarius, from the last unto the first, filling up the Spirit. And the heavy dark thirst, is your eye evil? Because I am so good, understanding the rhythm as a Spirit should. The first shall be the last, and the last shall be the first, in the middle of the blessing that the Master has dispersed. The morning is radiant and the grace is so free for the ones in the vineyard and the ones by the sea. The 11th hour, generosity of the Master. Stay chill, it's all grace.
king sat in his house of cedar and gold, while the ark of the presence stayed out in the cold. I will build him a temple, he said to the seer, but the word of the master started to draw near. You will not build a house for my spirit to stay, but I will build you a kingdom that won't pass away. A house for my name and a throne for the years. Through the golden laughter and the quiet tears, your son shall build the temple of stone and of wood, but your line shall remain for what's only good. An eternal covenant in the afternoon light, turning the promise into the sight. David sat before the Lord with a heart so small. Who am I, Master, that you'd give me this call? From the back of the sheepfold to the crown of the land, established forever by your powerful hand. A house for my name, the eternal covenant, stay chill in the promise. The king stayed at the gate while the army went out to the edge of the forest with a battle shout. Deal gently for my sake with a young man there, a father's plea in the morning air. But the woods were thick and the ground was deep, a secret of the battle that the forest would keep. The forest of Ephraim in the golden blue light, where the two kingdoms met in the fight. The trees took more than the edge of the blade in the tangled shadow and the bitter shade. The rebellion was broken by the hands of the brave, walking the border of the spirit and the grave.
a family torn in the heavy silence of the early morn. The fate of the crown and the heart of the sun, in a battle of shadows that had only begun. The Forest of Ephraim, the clash of two kingdoms. Stay chill in the struggle. In the spring of the year, when the kings go to war, David stayed in the city and the palace of yore. He rose from his bed in the cooling of day, while the shadows of evening starting to play. From the roof of the palace he saw there, washing her beauty in the heavy warm wind, the rooftop at sunset and the gaze of the eye. Under the gold of the Palestinian sky, Bathsheba was her name, the wife of the brave. A moment of fire that a kingdom could crave. The shepherd was lost in the desire and pride, turning away from the Spirit as guide. He sent for the woman in the middle of night, turning the darkness into the sight. The first step of the fall on the floor of the stone, a secret of the heart that was newly known. Rooftop at sunset, the gaze of Bathsheba, stay chill in the temptation. Absalom was riding on his royal mule when his long thick hair became the forest's tool. He was caught in the oak between heaven and land while the mule ran away.
across the sand. Job took 3 spears, and he struck the sun's heart, tearing the family and the kingdom apart. Oh, my son Absalom, the king's bitter cry, under the gaze of the empty sky. Would I had died in your place today, as the victory of the army faded away. The hanging tree and the sorrow so deep, a promise of heaven that was hard to keep. He went to the chamber above the city gate to weep for the sun and the hands of fate. The king was restored, but the father was gone through the long dark night to the break of the dawn. Oh, my son Absalom, the hanging tree, stay chill in the morning. Amen. The kingdom is like a mustard seed small, the tiniest grain that can ever fall. A man took it out and he sowed it in the ground, where the quietest grace was finally found. It's smaller than all of the seeds of the earth, in the middle of the moment of the Spirit's birth, the smallest of all in the early dawn, until the shadow of the bush is finally drawn. It grows to a tree so great and so high, reaching for the light of the morning sky. The birds of the air come to find their rest in the branches of the Spirit that the Master blessed. Great things from small in the golden blue glow, watching all the wisdom of the Spirit flow. The morning is radiant and the tree is so strong, making a the silence a beautiful song. The mustard seed, the smallest of all, stay chill and grow big. The king was old, and his days were nearly done, when the shouting began for another son. But David remembered the promise he'd made in the quiet of the Spirit and the palace shade. Call Zadok the priest and Nathan the seer to cast away the shadow and the rising fear. The horn of oil and the sound of the flute, watching the seedling and the holy root. God save King Solomon, the people cried loud, under the gold of the afternoon cloud. He sat on the throne of his father that day, as the old king smiled in his gentle way. The peace was established, the future was clear, casting away every shadow of fear. The son of the promise, the child of the light, turning the morning into the sight. The horn of oil, Solomon's peace, stay chill on the new throne.
30,000 men gathered in the sun to bring back the glory that the Master had won. They set the ark on a brand new cart with a song in the spirit and a joy in the heart. But the holiness burned and the sorrow was deep when the secret of the presence
fence was too heavy to keep arrival of the ark, and the weight of the hand moving the presence across the dry land. 3 months in the house of Obed-Edom's gate, while the king was waiting for the hands of fate. When the blessing was seen, they brought it with praise in the golden reflection of the ancient days. Six steps they walked, then they offered a sign, touching the border of the glory divine. No longer the fear, but the wonder and grace in the quietest moment of the Master's face. Arrival of the ark, the house of Obed-Edom stayed chill in the holiness, stayed chill in the holiness. Women sang as they returned from the fight. Saul has slain thousands in the middle of light, but David tens of thousands. They danced in the street, and the sound of the praise was a bitter defeat. Saul watched from the window with a heart of the stone, feeling the threat to his royal throne. The javelin shadow across the palace wall, in the middle of the music and the Master's call. Twice the king threw it, while the boy played the string, under the protection of the Father's wing. Saul was afraid, for the Lord was with the boy, turning the victory into a sorrowful joy. He removed him from presence, made him lead a small band, watching him flourish all over the land. Every step that he took was a step in the grace, in the quiet reflection of the Master's face. The javelin's shadow, Saul's dark jealousy, stay chill even in the fire. The rebellion was over, and the shouting had ceased. In the heart of the nation, the Spirit was released. Why are we silent about bringing back the King? The message of the Jordan, the desert winds bring. He came to the river where the waters flow wide, with the love of his people like a rising tide, crossing the Jordan home in the afternoon light. A journey of mercy in the middle of sight. Shimei fell down, and he begged for his life. No man shall die today, was the end of the strife. Barzillai was there with his silver and white, turning the shadow into the light. He entered the city that he'd left in the tears, washing away the sorrow of the years. The throne was waiting in the palace of wood for the king who was seeking for what's only good. Crossing the Jordan home, the King returns. Stay chill in the restoration. These are the last words of the Jesse's son, the race of the Spirit that was finally won. The Spirit of the Lord spoke by my tongue of all the melodies that I have ever sung. He who rules over men must be just and be wise, like the morning sun.
in the cloudless skies. The sweet psalmist of Israel is going to rest with the peace of the Father in his weary breast, an eternal covenant that will never depart, written in the spirit and the human heart, from the hills of the sheep to the crown of the gold, the greatest of stories that was ever told. He slept with his fathers in the city of light, leaving the darkness for the eternal sight. The harp is silent, but the song is still here, watching the blessing of the Master grow near. The sweet psalmist, the last song of the shepherd, stay chill in the kingdom. Amen. The kingdom is like a mustard seed small, the tiniest grain that can ever fall. A man took it out and he sowed it in the ground, where the quietest grace was finally found. It's smaller than all of the seeds of the earth, in the middle of the moment of the Spirit's birth. The smallest of all in the early dawn, until the shadow of the bush is finally drawn. It grows to a tree so great and so high, reaching for the light of the morning sky. The birds of the air come to find their rest in the branches of the Spirit that the Master blessed. Great things from small in the golden blue glow, watching all the wisdom
of the Spirit flow. The morning is radiant and the tree is so strong, making of the silence a beautiful song. The mustard seed, the smallest of all, stay chill and grow big. The kingdom is like a mustard seed small, the tiniest grain that can ever fall. A man took it out and he sowed it in the ground, where the quietest grace was finally found. It's smaller than all of the seeds of the earth, in the middle of the moment of the Spirit's birth. The smallest of all in the early dawn, until the shadow of the bush is finally drawn. It grows to a tree so great and so high, reaching for the light of the morning sky. The birds of the air come to find their rest in the branches of the Spirit that the Master blessed. Great things from small in the golden blue glow, watching all the wisdom of the Spirit flow. The morning is radiant and the tree is so strong, making of the silence a beautiful song. The mustard seed, the smallest of all, stay chill and grow big. The kingdom is like a merchant in search, from the edge of the sea to the door of the church, looking for pearls that are fine and are rare in the quiet reflection of the morning air. And finding one gem of a price so great in the rhythmic timing of the Master's fent, the pearl of great price in the early dawn,
when the search of the spirits is finally gone, he sold all he owned for the sake of the one in the radiant light of the morning sun. One perfect gem in the palm of the hand, the beauty of heaven across the land. Nothing compares to the light that it brings above the mountains and the crowns of the kings. The morning is peaceful and the vision is clear, turning the shadow into the gear. The pearl of great price, one perfect gem. Stay chill, it's yours. While the foolish went to buy, the bridegroom came to the hall, and those who were ready answered the master's call. They went into the feast, and the door was shut tight. In the middle of the morning and the middle of the sight, later the others came. Lord, Lord, open the gate. In the rhythmic timing of the master's fate, watch and be ready in the early light. Turning the morning into the sight. I do not know you was the word that they heard, the heaviest of stories that the morning stirred. For you do not know the hour or the day in the quiet reflection of the master's way. Keep your spirit bright and your lamp burning clear, witnessing the wisdom and the holy fear. The morning is radiant for the ones who are wise under the gaze of the morning skies. The shut door, watch and be ready. Stay chill and stay awake.
kingdom is like a mustard seed small, the tiniest grain that can ever fall. A man took it out and he sowed it in the ground where the quietest grace was finally found. It's smaller than all of the seeds of the earth, in the middle of the moment of the Spirit's birth, the smallest of all in the early dawn, until the shadow of the bush is finally drawn. It grows to a tree so great and so high, reaching for the light of the morning sky. The birds of the air come to find their rest in the branches of the Spirit that the Master blessed. Great things from small in the golden blue glow, watching all the wisdom of the Spirit flow. The morning is radiant and the tree is so strong, making of the silence a beautiful song. The mustard seed, the smallest of all, stay chill and grow big.
A sower went out in the early light to scatter the seeds in the middle of sight. Some fell on the path where the birds came to eat. Some fell on the rocks in the morning heat. Some fell among thorns that choked out the breath, walking the border of the life and death. The sower's morning in the golden hour, waiting for the secret of the Spirit's power. But some fell on the soil so deep and so good, understanding the word as a spirit should. 100-fold harvest in the early dawn, when the shadow of the path is finally gone. He who has ears, let him hear the sound of the seeds of the kingdom on the hallowed ground. The morning is radiant and the field is so wide with the truth of the Master as the only guide. Thus hours mourning for kinds of song, stay chill and grow.
The kingdom is like 10 virgins in the night who took their lamps to find the morning light. 5 were wise and 5 were foolish and slow, watching the embers and the spirits glow. The foolish took their lamps, but no oil for the way. In the quiet reflection of a long, long day, oil for the midnight lamp in the early dawn, before the shadow of the world is finally gone. The wise took the jars with the oil and the flame, carrying the spark and the holy name. Wait for the bridegroom in the golden blue hour, witnessing the wisdom and the Spirit's power. At midnight there was a cry, behold, the bridegroom is here, casting away the shadow and the fear. They trimmed their lamps as the sun began to rise under the gaze of the morning sky. Oil for the midnight lamp, the 10 virgins, stay chill, keep your lamp full. The king came in to see the guests at the hall, watching the Spirit
and the heart of them all. He saw a man there without the wedding robe, the loneliest witness on this spinning globe. Friend, how did you enter without the garment so white? In the middle of the morning, in the middle of the sight, a garment of light in the early dawn, when the shadow of the self is finally gone. Many are called, but the chosen are few. In the morning mist and the early dew, for the robe is the grace that the Father bestows in the quietest moment where the mercy grows. He was speechless and still in the presence of the one, under the reflection of the morning sun. The wedding is holy, and the spirit must be prepared. In the middle of the love that the Master has shared, a garment of light, the wedding robe, stay chill. In the grave. The kingdom is like a man and his field, where the best of the grain was expected to yield. But while the world slept in the middle of night, an enemy came and hid from the light. He sowed the weeds among the good wheat, in the quiet of the shadows and the morning heat. Let both grow together until the day when the master of the harvest has the final say. Do not pull the weeds or the wheat will fall too. In the morning mist and the early dew, wait for the harvest in the golden blue hour, witnessing the wisdom and the Spirit's power. Gather the weeds to be burned in the flame, but bring the good grain in the holy name. The morning stays steady and the light is so clear, casting away the shadow and the fear. The wheat and the tares, let both grow together. Stay chill in the patience